What is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me today. This is So I Did a Thing. My name is Chris. Man, it's going to be a good episode, y'all. If it's just like I've been excited all week for this one. Hey, Zev, good to see you, man. Let's recognize and say hi to some people in the comments real quick. They're already popping. Sri is here. The Queen herself. Tyler Howe is here. Aya is here. Holly is here. Hey, Holly. Good to see you. Holly hadn't been on one of my shows in a while. That makes me happy. That just made my night. Sandra Wilson is here. Who else is here? Zev Ash. There he is. Travis Masson. Greg Charlton. Boom. And I don't even have much of an intro. There is a new cool feature that Restream has now, y'all. And Sri, I don't even know if you've seen this. You see that right there? Right there. You can scan that QR code. It is probably right behind the little live button where y'all are watching it. Anyway, you can scan the QR code. You can buy me a coffee. You could help support the show, or you could not do anything, and I will still love you. But Restream just added it. I saw it yesterday when I was streaming at church. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to use it and throw it up there because I can. And Luke Velmer is here. The dude is in the house. Y'all listen. Luke just started a live stream show called Beards and Bangers, and he takes a song with a guest, breaks it down, listens to a little bit of it, and then they talk about what that section of the song means. I was a guest on it Friday. My perspective on it was totally different than his perspective on it, and was totally different than what the actual meaning behind the song was. It was an awesome hour. Like it was so cool to do it and just kind of analyze it and talk about, you know, what the song means to you, what the lyrics mean, how you took it, and just to hear the different perspectives in it between you, Luke, what it was really meant, and then people in the audience, of course, were having those same, you know, conversations in there, telling what it meant to them. Hey, Lisa Marie, Brian Berman is here. I see y'all. So y'all check him out. He's Friday evenings at 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. Y'all can figure out the other time zones from there. So yeah. So my guest tonight, I'm not even going to advertise like merch or anything. I'm ready to get into the conversation with Eric. My guest tonight was on the show in the fall of last year, I guess it was, talking about what it means to be a man. We talked a lot about toxic masculinity and how it makes us both sick to our stomachs just to hear that. And just the fact that it's come to the people talking about toxic masculinity. As Jamal Marshall would say, he snatched some wigs last time. And so, you know, we were chatting in the DMs a few weeks back, and he said he's got some new stuff coming up. He'd like to come on the show and talk about it. And I was like, hell yes, you are always welcome to come on the show. So without any further ado, hey, Stephanie Couch. Okay, we got to say hi to Stephanie. Then we'll bring Eric out. Let's bring Eric Rogell out. What's up, man?
Oh, always awesome to be here, man. We have such a good time when we get together. So I'm excited, man. I look forward to this for weeks.
I have too. Like I'm already thinking like, what kind of clips am I going to get out of this to post?
Yeah.
So
look, I'm seeing some of the people I've been talking to since last time, and Aya was coming up, and we had an awesome conversation. So, man, I'm just like I said, excited to be here. You got an awesome audience too. So
yeah, I really do. Like I'm pretty partial to them. They're amazing.
Yeah. Hey, Sri, what's going on?
Yeah, Sri, snatch some wigs. So look, that's not my saying. That's Jamal Marshall saying. If you're not following Jamal, you really ought to. He drops some truth bombs too. He tells it like it is. You know, it might be. I've never seen the Housewives of Atlanta, Stephanie. I got it from Jamal. He's always talking about snatching wigs whenever you're dropping truth bombs and blowing people's heads back. You know, in the South, in Texas, we say he blew my head back, you know. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. So what's up, man?
Nothing. Just like I said, excited to be here. Just been doing some stuff, hanging out, writing some posts and all of that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
It's all about the beards, man.
It is. It is.
Tyler. Yeah. Absolutely.
let me I'm fixing to tag him in the comments, Aya. So you can just click on it right there. Go check him out. Maybe he'll show up. All right. I'll quit scrolling out on the comments now. We can talk.
Sure, man. The comments are fun, though. That's part of the
They
game,
are
man.
fun. Yeah, it
I like
is.
getting on with you.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got some cool stuff coming up. You sent me the manual for it, and I read it, and it was just absolute fire. And then backstage, we were talking about just kind of some of the things we want to talk about. And y'all, as always, like Eric has this unique ability to put like a profound amount of impact into like 6 words. Like, and then so let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Just start telling us.
Yeah, man. I mean, one of the things we talked about when you said, what do you want to do, was some stuff's been coming up the last several months. I work with a lot of men. We talked about the toxic masculinity thing last time I was on. We talked about, what bullshit that is and what masculinity really is all about. And one of the things I got was, talking with a lot of fathers right now. I'm a stepdad, and I've also mentored, I can't tell you how many hundreds of young men over the years. And one of the things that kept coming up with a lot of these, fathers was, man, I love my son. I love my kid, but I don't know what to do. What do I do with them to raise him to be a good man? Right. And it really hit me because, we're seeing a lot of stuff going on right now, especially with young men in this country, just, rudderless, I think is a good word for it. No ambition, no drive, no sense of like, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. And really looking at the role models, and a lot of the fathers, we blame a lot of the fathers and go, these fathers are absent. They're not around. They're not doing anything. That may be the case some of the time, but I speak to a lot of really good men who really want to raise what I call raise strong sons. Right. So I started a program called Raise Strong Sons, just for these fathers that really want to be that outstanding role model, that person they can look up to and, guide. Right. But they really don't know how to do it. They really don't know, who am I supposed to be? And that's really what the conversation you and I got into, because a lot of these fathers are coming to me and they go, what do I do? What do I do to, raise a really strong son and raise really strong daughters?
Yeah.
And my response is always, it's not what you're doing, it's who you're being. That's the main thing that, I want guys to know is it's more about who you're being than what you're doing. And, it came around with a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, Annalise, and she said, what father who's working, so hard and working so many hours, what father would want to come home and spend more time with his wife and kids? And I said, well, you'd be surprised. I talked to a lot of fathers who kind of resist it because they don't know what to do when they get there. They don't know who to be when they're home. Should I be the disciplinarian? I've been out for 10 hours. Should I be the disciplinarian? Should I be the cool dad? Should I be the fun dad? Should I be, who am I supposed to, be, or what am I supposed to do? So that's kind of what we've been doing, Chris, is kind of guiding fathers in what's coming from in here. Who are you being?
Yeah. Brian Berman, he took the words out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's always more about being than doing.
100%, Brian. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking, Chris, the being, once you are who you're being, will guide you to the actions to take, right? So being comes first, and then that'll kind of guide into the doing, if you will. I just say actions. It'll give you what actions to take rather than trying to do, and then kind of shoehorn that into who you're being. So that's kind of the conversation to get into. How do you step into who you need to be?
Yeah. And I always relate this, not always relate this, but it just brings to mind just kind of a brief part of my story. I grew up in church. I grew up in a really strong Christian home, but it wasn't until I went to prison that I had a real experience with God and God's love. And it came from, hitting rock bottom and really being able to open myself up. But then all of a sudden, when that happened, it wasn't about doing things that were right because that was the rules. It was doing things that were right because that's what I wanted to do. Because I was being a different person, not just acting out of a head knowledge. You know what I mean?
Right. More
It
from
came
here.
out of, yes, exactly. It was from my heart. It wasn't necessarily because, you know, don't do drugs because that's wrong. It was because now I don't want to do drugs.
Right. Because you were a
Yep.
different man.
A different
And
person.
who you
Yeah.
were being in that moment was dictating the things that you were doing and the actions that you were going to take.
Correct.
Right. See, that's the same
Yep.
thing for me. Now, for me growing up, and I think I told this story the last time I was on, you know, I was raised by a single mom. My dad, who I looked up to a lot and was a great man, wasn't around a whole lot. And, you know, whatever they had going on between them, you know, I didn't get to see him that often. And so I didn't have that great role model growing up in my formative years of this is how you are to be. And this is, you know, so I could model it from him. Right. So from there, I had to go search out and find great mentors. And I did. And that's when I realized, you know, it's way more about being the example. And whenever I would teach or, you know, and I taught college, I taught martial arts, I taught, you know, young, like I said, mentored young men, they can feel who you are being at any minute, any moment, right? They can just feel who you are. And that's been the experience that I've had. And it's way more than like, I'm going to run in and do this for you and do that and do this and take this. It's just that presence of who you can be. And so, you know, we work with men, you know, on doing that with their families. Who do you need to be for your wife and kids to really thrive and for your kids to grow up strong? So, yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at something over there. I love it, man.
I thought maybe we just blew your mind so much, man. You didn't.
No. No. I love it, man. It's and I like that you're working with the families too. You're not just working with the men now, right? You're also you kind of brought the families into it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, a lot of the men that I work with, they want me to talk to their wives, right? And they want to, you know that their wives can understand what they're doing and who they're becoming. And then because that's going to shift what goes on around you. Right? The more you become more and more of who you are and greater, it shifts the people around you. So it's the wives want to know what's happening as well. And, you know, we may have mentioned this last time, but I always say, you know, we talk about men becoming kings, right? So we talk about the warrior archetype and the lover archetype.
Yep.
Right. And taking the warrior and the lover, the warriors are driven side, you know, all that motivation and ambition and courage and leadership and, you know, all that great stuff, being the steward, the guide, the guardian, all of that. And then the lover side being the heart, right? The wisdom, creativity, generosity, playfulness, inspiration, all the things that make life so juicy. We integrate the two of those. That's when we're operating from king, right? So it's about being the king. And what we've said before is you can't be a great king unless you have a great, powerful queen by your side.
Come on. Right on.
Stronger you become, the stronger she becomes. And you guys are just driving each other this way. Right? You grow, she grows, you grow. You want to have that powerful queen by your side. So it is a family dynamic. And now as parents, if you guys are acting as, you know, role models of what it looks like to be a king, what it looks like to be a queen, what it looks like to be a powerful couple, love and, you know, companionship and cooperation and all of those things, that's really going to lead you to the actions to take. And yeah, I'm looking at some of these things in the chat. And yeah, that is winging it to an extent. There is no licensing exam, right? You do look to who these role models are. So, you know, Chris, it's what I call generational impact. Right. As you become more and you raise them to be strong, they'll be able to raise their kids to be strong. And it goes all the way down. Right. So that's really what this is all about is how do you become the best you can be? How do you become the best king? How do you become the best queen? And how do you make your kingdom thrive? So that's where we're at.
And I love, like, I know I said this last time too. I love that the emphasis is on you got to have a strong queen and how it just totally debunks the whole toxic masculinity BS is you're building each other up. Never doing this number.
Right. Yeah. We were saying like bringing down or trying to tear down to make yourself feel better or look better. No, man, you want everybody going up. So that's what I really want to see.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Love
so
it.
that's really the good thing. Yeah. And one of my guys is in here, Mark Lieber, throw his up there. Live a life, courage, honesty, integrity, commitment, duty, honor, love. There it is.
Yep.
That's our sacred 7 core values that we teach in the work that I do. Mark's one of my guys. But
awesome. I love it.
And that's really what it is, man. If you're living those 7, you're going to be an outstanding role model for whoever you are mentoring, raising, moving through, pulling them in. You know, guys ask me all the time, well, how do I know if I'm being a role model? How do I know if I'm being that right guy? What does it mean to be a man? We discussed that last time. And I said it's different for everyone. You're living from king, you're a warrior, you're lover, integrated. And then you got the sacred 7 core values. If you're courageous and honest and you live as a person of integrity, you hold to your commitments to yourself and to others. You're doing your duty. You honor those around you and you love full out. That's it, man. You got it. That's really all you need to do. That's all you need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generational impact, man. On my other show, Ending the Stigma, I had a retired TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the prison system. I had a retired warden on, and he talked about generational incarceration. And that just proves how generational impact works. That daddy went to prison, granddad went to prison. They've already got sons in prison, uncles went to prison, cousin, you know, that generational impact can be good though. The opposite can be true.
Right. And that's why it's
to be true.
Right. That is why it's so important. That's breaking that chain. Right. That is breaking that chain. And see, I'm glad you put this one up because I saw that in the chat and this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with this more. You got to let the queen be your full. And it takes a real man, a real king, a confident man to do this. What Stephanie is saying right here. To let the queen have her full potential. You want that. You need that.
Yes.
Right. You can't make her smaller than you. Can't tear yourself down. She shines, you shine, everybody. Then the kingdom thrives. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're being your full king and you can let her be her full queen, look at the role models you guys are. And it does break that, the negative side of the generational impact, like you just said.
Yes.
Because, you know, you can tell that story in the background. This is what my dad did to me. And my mom was this.
Right.
And I was raised this, was raised that way. But you can make a decision and say, this is who I'm going to be for my kids. This is the role model I'm going to be for my kids. So they see what it is. They grow up strong, and then they can do the same down the line. We shift that whole generational impact.
Yeah. Carrie had a great question.
Yeah.
What's the biggest obstacle for living by those values?
Yourself, your own
limiting
beliefs, and your own sabotage shit. That's an easy one, Carrie. That's the one we all look at, right? So we look at, you know, courage is first for a reason, because if you don't have courage, right? And courage is not meaning there is no fear. Courage just means you do it in the face of fear, right? Fear is staring you down and you just go. If you don't have courage, you can't get to the other 6, right? Cannot get to the other 6. You have got to have courage first. So I would say the self-sabotage, the self-doubt, not believing in yourself. So when you can get that courage to go through, to break through, that'll lead you into the others. So that's why courage is the most important, and the first one on the list. And then it's getting honest with yourself, right? It's getting just brutally, ruthlessly honest with yourself. So that's, you know, those kind of things. And it's really looking at, you know, why am I not courageous? Why am I not being honest with myself and with others? Right? Which means you're not in integrity. Why am I breaking commitments? That's the thing that goes, right? You've got to really look at that in yourself. You are the only one. This is why I say it's who you're being that matters the most of anything. It's who you could do all kinds of nice things for people, but if you're fearful and you're not honest and you're doing all of that, that's what's going to keep you from living that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this one now from Summer, single parent mom, helping heart motives, willing, giving, loving, honest heart. I would agree. And I would say, Summer, if you're, you know, you got to tap into that warrior side too. Don't be afraid of the warrior. Right. That was what my mom was. My mom was, you know, as I got bigger and I was taller than her and bigger than her, she was afraid of my beast and she wanted to kind of suppress it, which was what led me to be frustrated and angry and lash out and do those things. When I was guided by really good men, really strong, masculine, right order men to command my beast and tap into my warrior more, I was able to relax. And then I was able to embrace the heart side even more because I had both and I had the balance. So it is a balance of that too. So, you know, that's what I would say for that. There you go, Tyler. Amen to that. Right.
Yeah.
Courage is one of the greatest things we can do. So, yeah, the kingdom thrives. And yeah, Sabrina, the thing that's really interesting about that too is one of the things, Chris, you and I talked about beforehand was one of the things that I said, and it was written in a post, and it kind of whatever snatched some wigs or whatever your expression is, was when I said, if it's good for the king, it's good for the kingdom.
Right.
And so people were like, well, what do you mean by that? It's good for the king. It's good for the kingdom. And I get a lot of men who come to me and they say, and again, I say men because I work primarily with men. So I'm using this as an example. A lot of men who come in and say, you know, I sacrifice everything for my family. I work really hard. I'm at the office all day. You know, my health is suffering because I get up and I do these things and I make sure they're provided for and on and on. So I put my family first, but I feel miserable. And so when you really look at it, it's good for the king, it's good for the kingdom. It means if the king is sick and miserable and broke and angry, it's going to bleed over into the kingdom.
Yeah.
Everyone around him is going to be that way. But if the king is happy and wealthy and healthy and thriving and joyful, it flows over into everything there. So I always tell men, by being not selfish, being self-ish, taking care of you, making sure you're happy, healthy, doing what you need to be doing for you first, you're actually putting your family first because you can't help them if you're miserable and in terrible condition. So that's what I mean by if it's good for the king, it's good for the kingdom, right? Same thing with the queen. It's good for the queen. It's good for the kingdom.
Yeah.
If she's not taking care of herself and she's miserable, it's going to bleed over as well. So you and then the kingdom will thrive. So
I love it. I had a good question. What did you mean by suppress?
Yeah. So great question, Aya. What it was, you know, like I said, is I got bigger and stronger and my beast started to come out, right? I would get angry or I would, you know, yell or I would, whatever it was. I didn't know what to do with it. I just felt this anger and this rage. Mom was always like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're scaring me. Don't do that. Just be quiet. Go sit and be quiet. So it was like, I had no way of really understanding how to express that side of me, that warrior side, that beast side of me. It was pushed down and that made it worse. So it was when I met some really good men, some really strong, right order, masculine men. And they were like, no, man, this is how you express that side of you in a positive way with command so that, you know, you're not scaring and frightening people and you're not out of control. That was when it became really healthy and I had to balance those two sides of me. But so hopefully that answers that question. What I mean by suppress, it was almost hide that side of me as a man because it was too scary, you know, to Mom and some of the women that were around me. So yeah, that's what that was. Good. I'm glad that explained it. Perfect.
Yeah, the kids are always watching the king and queen for real.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, you don't realize who's watching you. You don't realize the kids are seeing, man, and they hear you. And I will tell you this, they are incredibly intuitive beings, young kids, and they will feel you. They will feel when you're bullshitting them. They will feel when you're angry. They will feel when you are withdrawn. They will feel like when the king and queen are fighting. They know all of this. And so they will see it, feel it, and express it. and they may not understand what to do with it. So it's, yeah, they are always watching. So just keep that in mind. So again, who you're being is the most important thing.
I love it. I love the who you're being, not what you're doing part, because it just, those 6 words are amazing. 8 words. I'm sorry. 8 words.
However many they are, man, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, however many it is.
They helped me immeasurably, because I was a doer. On that hamster wheel, just doing. What do I have to do? What do I have to do? What do I have to do?
Yeah.
Then found out it was more about being, and I was like, oh shit, I can get off that. I can just be more.
Yeah.
Guide my.
Summer had another great question. So talk about the warrior heart a little bit, so you can kind of tell her where you're coming from on that.
Sure. And you know what?
Talk about her daughter.
Yeah. What's great about this, Summer, is, I've done a lot of work in companies. I'll do these talks in corporations and companies, and it's not just men, it's men and women. And I've actually had women who are very successful, high level, in companies and corporations, women would say to me, wow, when you're doing this whole thing on the warrior side and the lover side, why do I feel more comfortable in my warrior? And it's because you've had to do that in the company, in your business life. You've had to be a warrior. You've had to be a leader. You've had to drive forward, be ambitious, be courageous, take risks, right? Push boundaries, all those things that got you where you are. And now it's about the heart side. So Summer, it's really sons and daughters can suppress either side. It's really about understanding that we all have the warrior side, the lover side. We all have that heart in us, and it's balancing those two. And it's really embracing both in your kids. Let your daughter express her warrior side. If she wants to run around outside, climb trees, and do whatever and get in there, great, let her do it. And if she wants to do the creative side and paint and draw and all those things that are just beautiful that have to do with the lover side, great. And the same thing with boys, right? Like I have a great friend. She's awesome. She's done the work that I do, and she has a son, and he is, they're from the South, and he is a hunter, since he's 5 years old. Like he has that warrior side really developed from a young age. Like he loves going hunting and fishing and being outdoors. But she makes sure that, like, if he's listening to music and he wants to dance or he wants to paint or he wants to do some of the things that come from here, she allows him to do that. And it's not like, hey, man, you're a boy, you shouldn't have to. She allows him to express both sides of himself. So it's letting him be who he is, right? So yes, well, we do. We have both those energies, both men and women, and we do have to be able to express them and embrace them.
So just real quick in a nutshell, because Summer wasn't here last time. I wasn't connected to her last time you were on. I don't think I was connected to Aya last time you were on. Was not connected to Sonal. I'm still not connected with her. I sent her a connection request, and she's dropping some nice comments. Real quick, hit the archetypes: the warrior, the lover, the king,
and the hero.
And the king and the hero. Hit those real quick for us.
King, so queen. We have a mixed
king,
group.
Queen, yeah.
Warrior,
king,
lover,
queen.
King, queen, hero. I want to see what Mark. Oh, Mark. Wait, hang on one second, because Mark's one of my guys. Need to remember, who you are seeing is who you are being. That's it. See, Mark does the work. He knows, right?
Yeah.
So if you're seeing shit out there, it's coming from in here. The best way to describe that is this. So, Chris, if you wake up one morning and you go throughout your day, and during the course of the day you meet an asshole, you've met an asshole. But if you go through the course of the day and all you meet all day long are assholes, you're the asshole.
Right.
Right. So that's what it is.
Right.
So the more you're being,
no, I like that.
If you're seeing your kids act out and your kids do this or they're surprised, look here first. Look here first. Be more. Help them shift. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
I like that tag. That tag he added onto it. Be curious, not critical.
Yeah, that's one of the 4 rules of engagement in the Bold Men Brotherhood. Right?
Okay.
Be curious, not critical. Don't go in and if someone says something stupid or you see somebody doing something wrong or whatever it is, don't go in and be critical and call them a dumbass and whatever. Get curious. Get inside their head. Hey, man, why did you choose to do that?
Yeah.
Why do you believe this? Tell me where that comes from. And now you can connect with somebody. And you can do the same thing with your kids, man. Just get curious. All right, Timmy, why did you do that? What was your decision made? How did you get? Now you can get into their world, and who you're being is not like, I'm going to tear you down. It's, I want to get into your world. I want to understand. And then we'll go from there. Then I can guide you. Once I understand, now I can guide you. So that's like a wisdom side. So get into the archetypes, right? Because you said you weren't connected with some of these people. Feel this. The 4 foundational archetypes, I call them the warrior, the lover, the king, queen, the hero. We kind of went over them. So the warrior is that side of us. You can call it the masculine side. If you're looking at like Eastern philosophies, right? Yin yang, you have both, right? So looking at that warrior side, some of the empowering side of our warrior that we all have, boldness, courage, leadership, guardian, adventurer, motivated, driven, ambitious, passionate. All of that comes from our warrior side, right? And we have a negative. We have a limiting side on our warrior, which are things we want to, make sure we're not falling into. Overbearing, a bully, violent, all the things, Chris, that come up when we talk about toxic masculinity, right? Yeah. All the negatives, but there's all that beauty on the warrior side for us. Okay. Then we have the lover side. That's our heart. That's the feminine side if you're looking at Eastern philosophies. And again, we all have this side of us. And that is things like wisdom and beauty and creativity and inspiration, compassion, empathy, generosity, abundance, willingness, all of this stuff. So now we have both sides, the warrior and the lover. And when you can integrate the two and have them balanced within you, and you can operate from both, that's the king and the queen archetype. So when I tell my guys that I'm working with that they have an issue, they have a problem, and I go, king, come from king. Look at the warrior and the lover side. Now what can you do? Or the moms that come to me. If you're the queen and you have your warrior and your lover side, how would you speak to them? Leading with your warrior, supporting with your lover. That's the king and the queen, and they do for their kingdom, right? The hero is when you elevate past that. Now it's selfless. Yeah. So it's not for you. It's for others selflessly, even outside of your kingdom. You just do it from here. And that is those acts. But we typically, in the work that I do, we stick with the warrior, lover, king, and queen.
Yeah. I love it. And I love is to lead with the warrior, support with the lover.
Yeah. Always lead with the warrior. That's like courage is a warrior attribute. So you have to have courage before you can move forward. And if you look at those sacred 7, you have courage and the end is love. Those are the alpha and the omega. And it is a warrior and then ends with a lover. Love. So it is all of those coming through. So yeah, it's a, it's just, it just makes it really easy way to live. So that's why I say, if you think of that, and then you think if it's good for the king or queen and it's good for the kingdom, now you know where you are. So I love what Randy says here, Psych 101. You recognize faults in others because you have those same faults. See, a lot of that time that's projecting, right? You see it out there. And you also, Randy, I would say you can see that on the positive side too. We say a lot of times you see great things in others. There are things you have yourself that you may not recognize in yourself. So I tell dads this all the time. Who are men that you admire? Right? The big one I did, and I don't know if I did this with you, Chris, the superhero little thing that I do when I go into companies and I talk with groups and I ask them, who's your favorite superhero?
No, I don't think we talked about that.
Ask you, Chris, who's your favorite? And guys, put them in the chat. Who is your favorite superhero?
Yeah, y'all drop it in the comments. Who's my favorite superhero? Man, I don't know, dude. Man, I don't even know. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Pick one, just pick one.
Yeah, let's just say Batman.
See, I love that because Batman's mine. Yeah. So give me 3 things you love about Batman.
He's a real person and doesn't have any powers, for one, like any kind of weird, funky stuff. Yeah. He has all kinds of cool gadgets.
Yep.
And he's got a sidekick he takes under his wing.
So he's a mentor.
He's a mentor, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's when you know what? It's interesting. I never even thought of that one. That's what I do for a living, and I don't even put that one in there, man. That's awesome. So yeah, some of mine are, I love that he's got all the cool toys. He's also like the world's greatest detective. Yeah. And he's also like you said, he's the only one that doesn't have superpowers. And he also has this whole sense of, if it's going to get done, I'm going to do it. Like, it's up to me.
Right.
I'm going to be the one to make sure. Right. So what I say to people is this. So my mentor had a mentor, a great man named Harry Palmer. And Harry has a saying where he says, tell me who your superhero is, and I will tell you who you are. And I've done this, Chris, with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Ask them who their superhero is and give me 3 reasons why. And usually it's something that we have within ourselves that we either know we have or we wish we had, but it's really in there and we're just not being enough of it. Right. So I would say, if you look at all those things you just said about Batman, right? Now look at what it is about those others, and that tells you who you are. It is what they just said about, Psych 101. It's projection, both positive and negative. Right. We see things in people we don't like because a lot of times it's what we have. And we see things in people we admire. We can take more of that on because it's in here already. And we can just express it more. So if you want to be a superhero dad, pick your favorite superhero, use them as a role model, and add some of that to who you're being.
Yeah, I hadn't either. That's pretty cool because those were 3 things I just thought of off the top of my head. Like, I hadn't even really given much thought to it. It just came to me. But I've always considered myself, just an average dude, nothing just really spectacular. I'm not bottom of the barrel, but I'm just kind of in the middle, and I'm okay with that. I guess that's maybe why I immediately hit on he doesn't have any superpowers, but he still does cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's probably why
he applied himself.
That's cool as hell. Yeah.
And then you said, then he brought someone under his wings. He was a mentor. So there's part of you that's like, that loves that mentor and all of that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And being that, and the cool toys, you got some behind you on the table there. I see a few, but, yeah, man. So that's it. And it all goes back to what we said at the beginning. It's who you're being.
Yeah.
And so we have these role models in our life, man, that we can look at. And yeah, Tyler, I agree with you. All that stuff, man. It's just, it's perfect.
Natural,
you look
resourceful.
at who is that in me? And how do I become more and more and more of that? So I always tell guys, look, you may not have had the best role models as parents, right? Mom, dad may have not have been your first choice, I always say. But they were perfect in who they were, and they did the best they could with the tools they had at the time, right? They did what they were doing. They were who they were, right? They were being who they were being. They were doing what they were doing. We got out of it what we got out of it. And a lot of times what we needed to get out of it. Like, if my mom didn't do that, if she wasn't fearful and raised me to be fearful and all of those kind of things, I would never have fought so hard to get out of that.
Right.
It made me who I am. So I really love and appreciate her for that. So LinkedIn Batman, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Robin.
So anyway, so the thing is if we look at that, we go, okay, great. So they did what they did. They may not have been the best role models on the positive side. They could have been a cautionary tale for what not to do. But now you can look and find role models everywhere. They can be fictional characters. They can be superheroes. They could be, people that live in your neighborhood, just that are really good people, that have really good qualities that you want to integrate more and more. And then you can be more and more of that for your kids.
Yeah.
And they will have that model going forward.
Thanks for dropping in, Summer. It was good to see you. She's got to go.
Bye, Summer.
For kiddos. Yep.
See, there you go. So that's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
Put the kids first. Go make some good dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real. Dude, I can't believe it's been 40 minutes already. I feel like we just started.
Shit, man. Yeah. I mean, it flies. It just
does.
Flies. It
does.
Look, I love this stuff. Hopefully the people that are listening love this stuff and get something out of it because, that's really what it's all about. It's whatever you can take from this, guys, whatever you find valuable. I always say, look, Mark brought up the be curious, not critical, right? I said it was one of the 4 rules of engagement. One of the other ones is offer wisdom, not advice or opinion. And so my big thing for me is we eliminate the word should, right? So I will never say to you, Chris, hey man, you know what you should do? You should whatever. Because right away you're like, screw you, dude. Who you tell? Right. Wisdom comes from experience. right? Opinion and advice comes from here, but wisdom comes from here. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lover attribute. And wisdom comes from experience. So I might say to you, hey, Chris, you know what? Something like very similar happened to me, man. Here's what happened to me. And then here's what I did about it. And here's the result that I got. And then just leave it there. And then you can take from it what you want. So like I'm saying this, you know, just from my experience, and thanks, Mark, I'm going to share. From my experience, when I do that with young men, yeah, Kerry, and stop shooting on yourself. And I always say, burn down the shoulds. I don't tell them what they should do. You know, I mean, I don't care how old they are. Young men, older men shouldn't do this. But here's what happened to me. And I will tell you from my experience, when I sit down and have a conversation and go, like Chris, like you just said something about being in prison. So if you have a conversation with a young man and you go, hey, man, you know, I went down that path. I was on that path. And here's where it led me.
Yeah.
And I wound up in prison. Here's what happened to me in prison. But here's what I did about it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
They can just take whatever they want from that. You become that role model. You're not disciplining them. You're not going, hey, dumbass, don't do this, because you're going to be, they just shut down. So that wisdom comes from who you're being. I can't be that. I haven't had that experience that you had. So that's your unique flavor, man. And when you tell that and you share that and then say, here's what happened, it just elevates you to a whole nother level. It's just who you're showing up as in that moment. So much more important and more impactful, I should say.
Yeah.
Right.
It is. Yep. 100%. I try to catch myself when I'm telling people what you should do. Telling it in a story like that, though, sharing your experience is going to triple your impact.
Oh, yeah. At least.
It's just going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, great to meet you too, Stephanie. Keep going, man.
Stephanie. Stephanie will be a guest in a few weeks.
Oh, awesome, man. Make sure I have to listen to her episode.
Yeah.
See what's going on. But yeah, man. And you can feel that impact. So again, so even going back to what we started the whole thing with being versus doing, when you tell that story and share that experience, you're being it, right? You're just being who you are and relating your experience. When you try to give somebody an advice or an opinion or tell them what they should do, and man, that just feels contracted to me. You know what I mean? It's just, that's doing. That's trying to force a doing. Just be, man. Be who you are. Same thing as parents. Just be who you are. Be the best version of that. Be that best role model.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Love it. Well, dude, we're at time already.
Well, crap, man.
Yeah, I know it.
That flew by, brother.
It flew. We may have to schedule another one for a little later in the year.
Yeah, man. I love coming on. You know that.
Yeah. Who do I have next week? Next week, I have Ellie Red Cloud. She is a digital marketer, specifically geared towards businesses, and she's a marketing agency. She drops some really cool marketing tips. She's given me a few shout outs before, so I wanted to return the favor and bring her on. Plus, I've never had a conversation with her, so it'll be good to hang out with her. She's super cool. Eric, like, this has been amazing, dude. Like, I've got a few timestamps written down here for some clips to pull, so I'll make sure once I get them clipped. Them clipped, I'll send them to you.
Awesome, man. I'll put them up too. And listen, if you want to offer anybody the manual or send it out to anyone.
Yes. Where did we let me find that. If you want them, tell us about the manual. Let's just have you tell us about the manual.
It's funny. Someone said to me, no one ever put together a manual for being a father, being a good father, raising strong sons. So I just put this thing together, man. Take you 10 minutes to read. It's called the manual, and it is timeless, no bullshit wisdom for fathers who want to raise strong sons. And I'll give it to you. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just send me a DM. Say, man, I'd love to read the manual. The women that are watching, grab it. I've had a lot of women grab it, give it to their husbands. Read it for yourself. I mean, it'll help you too. And it is stuff like, you know, if it's good for the king, it's good for the kingdom. A lot of the things Mark was saying in the thing. So, man, just grab it. Send me a DM on LinkedIn and say, I'd love to read the manual. You don't have to give me an email address or anything. None of that nonsense. I'll just send you a copy right away. Like I said, you'll read it in 10 minutes and you'll get some of these powerful little wisdom bombs, I call them.
Yeah.
That'll help you out in who you're being as a dad.
Yeah. I read it. It was great stuff.
Awesome.
I think that's it, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. I appreciate it. The comments were lit. I love it when y'all show up like this. Eric, it was a pleasure, man. Like, I enjoyed it. Fastest 45 minutes of the day for sure.
Yeah, man, it was for me too. And like I always say, man, it's just an honor to be here and just kind of riff with you and drop some wisdom bombs on some people and hopefully bring some value to them and help them moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. We will see y'all next week, same time.